The girl was bullied by her classmates every single day. She had completely lost hope in life. Just when she was about to end it all, she was saved by the very classmate who used to bully her. Harukawa lay on her bed, crying helplessly. At that moment, her phone buzzed with a new message. According to legend, if you light fireworks in the height of summer, you can see the ghost at a specific location. And today, 3 high school students came together for the same purpose. Their goal was to find the legendary ghost. Harukawa, curious, asked the other 2 why they were looking for the ghost too. They didn't say it aloud, but the truth was, just like Harukawa, each of them was dealing with something painful. An abandoned airport. That was their destination. The 3 of them kept lighting fireworks, hoping the ghost would sense their presence. From dusk until deep into the night, this was their last firework. But nothing seemed to happen. Ryo genuinely believed the ghost was real. Or rather, deep down, he wanted the ghost to be real. A girl suddenly appeared in front of them. She was Ghost Ayane. Harukawa asked her if bullying existed even in the world of ghosts. Ayane didn't know, because she had always been alone. Ayane walked over to Harukawa. She asked if Harukawa had been bullied at school, and if that's why she wanted to end her life. It turns out not everyone can see the ghost. Only those who are truly filled with despair can see her. Ayane's eyes seemed to see right through their hearts. All 3 of them were carrying their own burdens. Harukawa was constantly bullied at school. Some classmates, to show off in front of their group, would target the quieter students. Maybe in their eyes, it was just harmless teasing, but for Harukawa, it was a source of immense pain. Harukawa had a gentle personality and struggled to express her emotions. That's why she wanted to end her life. To escape the pain, Ryo could see the ghost. Because he had a terminal illness, he didn't have long to live. As for Tomoya, he had always dreamed of becoming a painter since he was a child. But his mother buried that dream. She believed painting would only drag down his academic performance. As he grew up, Tomoya became what others saw as an ideal student. He became the pride of his family, but that wasn't what he wanted. Every day, he was buried in study plans arranged by his parents. Tomoya wanted to know, what did the world look like through the ghost's eyes? But by then, the fireworks had already burned out. It was time for the ghost to leave. Back at home, Harukawa still couldn't quite believe what had happened that night, but Tomoya kept it a secret from the others. He returned to the abandoned airport alone. He lit more fireworks and summoned the ghost again. Then they sat together on the ground. Tomoya wasn't even sure if he was still truly alive, because he felt like his heart had already died. He wanted to know if he became a ghost, would all his pain and troubles disappear? That's when Ayane reached out and took his hand. She offered to let him feel what it was like to be a ghost. The next moment, Tomoya's soul was lifted into the sky with Ayane. They soared freely through the night sky, and for the first time in his life, Tomoya felt true joy, because in that moment, he was free. To make up for that little prank, Ayane took him to an art museum. It was the place Tomoya had always dreamed of visiting. Ayane told him to enjoy it, because in his ghost form, no one could see him. The 2 of them mimicked the poses of the statues. Ayane even played along with him, striking the same pose as the couple in the oil painting, one proposing to the other. A quiet, mysterious bond began to form between them, and at that moment, Tomoya finally asked the question that had been weighing on his heart. How did Ayane die? Ayane brought Tomoya to her home. It was a luxurious villa, but now, only her mother lived there. 3 years ago, Ayane had a small argument with her mother. Angry and upset, she ran away from home. While crossing the street, she was hit by a car. Ayane didn't die immediately. She only lost consciousness. When she woke up again, she found herself inside a suitcase. The driver who had hit her wanted to cover up the accident, so he buried Ayane alive. Even though Ayane told the story with a blank expression, Tomoya could feel just how painful it must have been. Even now, her mother was still waiting for her to come home, and her body buried somewhere had never been found. Ayane said there were so many things she still wanted to do. To travel, to fall in love. Compared to her, Tomoya felt like the problems he was facing weren't so bad after all. Ayane asked Tomoya to help her find her body. By then, the fireworks had already burned out. Ayane disappeared, but her words continued to echo in Tomoya's mind. After that night, Harukawa was still terrified of going to school. Ryo could only pretend his illness didn't exist, but Tomoya started skipping school. He went to the art museum again, but his mother quickly found out. Tomoya told her he was looking for a friend, but his mother told him to go back to school immediately. For the first time, Tomoya disobeyed her. He shut the car door and walked away. Then he bought a huge bag of fireworks. When he met Iane again, Tomoya apologized. He said he'd be taking college entrance exams this year, so he might not be able to come back here anymore, but Iane didn't seem too bothered. Summer was ending soon, and with it, she would disappear too. But Tomoya made up his mind he would help her find her body. He called Ryo and Harukawa and asked for their help, but Ryo turned and walked away. He didn't want to help people who were trying to die, because they all still had a future, but Ryo didn't. Tomoya continued the search for Iane's body. To be more efficient, he and Iane split up. On the other side, Harukawa found Ryo. She opened up about her experience with bullying. Harukawa believed that everyone had their own struggles, and their meeting must have had some kind of special meaning. At that moment, Tomoya had used up all his fireworks. Feeling helpless, he kept calling out Iane's name. Just then, Harukawa and Ryo arrived with more fireworks. The three of them turned into ghosts to help Iane find her body. Finally, at the bottom of the sea, they found a suitcase. The moment Iane touched it, she knew her body was inside. Even though finding her body meant she would vanish, she was happy. Before she left, Iane admitted that she was worried about Tomoya, because during the time he spent as a ghost, he had been genuinely happy. She was afraid that he might want to become a ghost for real. Back in the real world, the three of them ran toward their destination. Tomoya dug into the sand with all his strength. A white suitcase slowly came into view. The moment he touched it, he found himself in a space of pure white. Iane stood before him in a white dress. She said because Tomoya had stayed in soul form for too long, that's how he ended up here. This is the other shore of the underworld. Then Iane told him, if he lit the firework now, he would become a true ghost, and finally be free. But just as Tomoya lit the firework, he suddenly heard Ryo's voice in his ears. He snapped out of it. The girl standing in front of him wasn't Iane at all. She was the shadow of his own despair. Even though Tomoya was deeply unhappy with reality, his time with Ryo and Harukawa made him realize, if you just look up, there will always be new hope. Tomoya faced his inner darkness, and the shadow that tried to lead him to death vanished. Back in the real world, Tomoya opened the suitcase. Not long after, the doorbell rang at Iane's house. Her mother opened the door and found Iane's necklace lying there. Harukawa still faced bullying at school, but now, she had the courage to fight back. Tomoya picked up his paintbrush once more, determined to chase his dream again. Time passed. Another summer arrived. The three of them met again at the abandoned airport to light fireworks. This time, Iane didn't appear, but as the fireworks faded, Ryo was gone. It turned out, he had passed away 6 months ago. Life is like a journey. No matter how rough the road or how humble the shelter, we must keep moving forward. Perhaps the scenery at the next stop is the beauty you've been searching for all along. This was the first time Naruse had spoken in 10 years. She tried to make a sound, but the next moment, a sharp pain surged through her stomach. It all started when she was 7 years old. Back then, Naruse dreamed of being a princess. One day, she went to a hotel on the mountain that looked like a castle and made a wish. But instead, she saw her dad walking out of the hotel with a strange woman. Naively, she didn't think too much of it. As soon as she got home, she told her mom everything. Naruse never imagined that this moment would change the course of her life forever. Her prideful mom stuffed food into her mouth to keep her quiet and gestured for her not to speak. A week later, her dad was kicked out of the house, but before he left, he blamed everything on her. He believed that it was because Naruse talked too much that this all happened, that it was all her fault. Naruse sat alone on the mountain, crying her heart out. In her mind, she wished, if only a prince could come save me right now. Suddenly, a fairy egg appeared out of thin air. It transformed into the shape of a prince, but Naruse smacked it back into its original form. The fairy egg prophesied that Naruse would be thrown into the depths of the sea for speaking too much, and the only way to avoid this misfortune was to seal her language. From that day on, Naruse didn't say a single word for 10 whole years. In the loud, buzzing classroom, she stood out like a sore thumb. She had no friends. Even her mom found her embarrassing and often locked her in her room. Sophomore year was especially tough. In music class, The teacher picked Naru's and 3 other students to star in the school musical. Naru's froze in panic. Tanaka, who was also chosen, was visibly upset. Just as Tanaka stood up to object, she blurted out the words, "I don't want to," but the next second, a stabbing pain shot through her stomach. Clutching her abdomen, she ran out of the classroom. She knew only when she was alone would the curse-like pain go away. After school, in the teacher's office, she stumbled upon Takumi, who was singing. Strangely, the lyrics of his song seemed to reveal Naru's deepest secret. Before she could make sense of it, the teacher suddenly appeared behind her. Startled, she shoved a note refusing to join the musical into the teacher's hand and fled. Later, Naru mustered up the courage to confront Takumi. Through text, she told him the truth, that a fairy egg had sealed her voice, that every time she spoke, she felt a terrible pain, that it was a curse. But Takumi just smiled and told her it was all a coincidence, and he encouraged her to sing what was truly in her heart. Takumi's support felt like a lifeline, pulling her slowly out of the darkness, and quietly, it opened the door to a 17-year-old girl's heart. As senior year approached, her classmates started to complain that the musical was a burden. Tanaka, an athlete, was especially unhappy. He said making him sing was an insult. Then he pointed at Naru's, saying it was ridiculous for someone who couldn't even speak to be in a musical. He even suggested replacing the cast. Takumi couldn't stand it, and almost got into a fight with him. But then, out of nowhere, Naru's began to sing. When someone finds the courage to face their fears, good things are bound to happen. Her classmates were moved by Naru's voice. One by one, they joined the musical production, choreographing, building sets, crafting props. Everyone took on a role. Naru's not only played the female lead, she also wrote the entire script. Takumi, as always, stood by her side, patiently revising lyrics, so they would perfectly reflect what she wanted to express deep down. Even Tanaka apologized sincerely to her, and the two soon became friends. For the first time in 10 years, Naru's was no longer alone. But one day, she overheard Takumi talking with Nito. It turned out Takumi had only been looking after Naru's out of kindness, not love. The one he truly liked had always been Nito, and had been, for 5 years. In that moment, Naru's world collapsed. She had believed Takumi was her prince. Just then, the fairy egg appeared again, mocking her without mercy, saying this was the price she paid for talking too much. On the day of the musical, Naru's vanished. No one could reach her. Her classmates were deeply disappointed. They felt betrayed. But Takumi stood up and apologized to everyone on her behalf. He begged them not to give up on her, and promised to bring her back. He figured she must have gone to the place where everything began, the hotel on the mountain from 10 years ago. Now a crumbling ruin, Takumi found her sitting on the ground. He gently told her, "Come back, it's not too late." But Naru's was stuck in her own doubt. She thought maybe the fairy egg was right, that all of this misfortune happened because she talked too much. But Takumi said he didn't believe the fairy egg was real at all. Naru's insisted the fairy egg existed, and that words could hurt people, that it was a curse she could never escape. Takumi gently comforted her. He wanted to hear the truest words in her heart. Faced with Takumi's kindness, Naru's couldn't resist. For the first time, she shared everything she had been holding inside. Takumi listened to her sincerely. From beginning to end, he wanted to prove to Naru's that the fairy egg wasn't real. Takumi believed that Naru's fear of speaking was just an excuse made by someone too afraid to face the world. He said that only by expressing herself bravely could she truly break the curse. Naru's was moved by his honesty and warmth, and she made up her mind to stop running away. With courage, she confessed her feelings for Takumi, but Takumi had already fallen for someone else. In that moment, Naru's didn't feel heartbroken. Instead, she felt an overwhelming sense of peace. By now, the musical had already begun. Her mother, who had come just to watch Naru's perform, was about to leave in disappointment. Just then, Naru slowly walked onto the stage singing. Who hasn't felt pain in their youth? Loneliness and regret are part of the lessons we all must learn to grow. The turning points that change our fate often show up in the form of bad news. As long as we don't give up on ourselves and keep moving forward, happiness will come right on time.